So here we are, the weekend's gone by very, very quickly, and we're here for the final race, the GB4 reverse grid race. Always a very exciting race, as we saw in the GB3 race earlier on. And, you know, this has taken me by surprise. When they told me in my ear, I could not believe Max Maserati is the new championship leader. It's all because Nicholas Taylor did not finish that last race. You can see his car behind, number 81, the team here at Hillspeed getting the car ready. Now, I mean, I posed this question to Max when he was on the podium last time out, and he finished second, which was a bit of a surprise. Can he win the championship without actually winning a race this year?
I mean, I'm sure he's hoping to win at least one race.
But technically,
of course he could win. We're past the halfway point of the season, and he's leading the championship, hasn't won a race. It shows that Mr. Consistency, as we've been calling him...
I think he's starting to try and brand himself as Mr. Consistency, and he's got some very nice merchandise, and I reckon...
You'll see it coming out,
he's going to get the next drop, or whatever he's calling it, is going to be Mr. Consistency. Yeah.
But he's... I mean, it's past the halfway point of the season, as we mentioned. He's now leading the championship. 3 points, granted, not a huge amount, over Nicholas Taylor. Nicholas Taylor, I would arguably had the best as the pace over the Hillspeed cars this year. He's been the driver to beat on pace, but he's had, 2 or 3 DNFs now. One in the race we saw earlier on today, and also that Silverstone race. He's had a couple of DNFs, which has hurt his points tally. So it shows that just being there, just finishing the race, especially with only 9 drivers, you have to... If you finish the race, you're going to be up there.
And the thing with Max is that, you know, in that last race there, he was sitting in like 4th place, and then, you know, things happen in front of him, and suddenly he's second. And actually, by being consistent, staying out of trouble, that's a tactic in itself. And, you know, I think he's probably showing a bit of his experience there. I know you've raced
maturity as well.
That maturity against someone like Nicholas Taylor, that, you know, unfortunately, and it's not saying it's his fault, but he's finding himself in problematic areas and situations, like in that last race there. That's where Max has got a bit of an edge over some of these younger drivers.
He's got a lot of experience. He's raced in this paddock for at least 2-3 years now. He's got a lot of experience. He's raced a lot of the guys. He's seen what goes on. He knows that if I'm in the right place, I can then pick off positions. He saw that in the last race. He was 4th place. The cars in front came squabbled, and then made good decisions. He was assertive. He made a move, but he didn't put himself at too much risk, and managed to get 2nd place on the last lap.
Absolutely incredible. We've talked about it enough. Let's find out. Let's recap. Let's see what happened in that second very eventful race in the GB4 Championship this weekend here at Snetterton.
Highlights from the opening race of the Sunday as GB4 would get underway, and the race down towards the first corner. It was Werberski with the great start to get around the outside of Nicholas Taylor, running into the first corner. Taylor would try and attack back, was not able to do so. Jack Sherwood would hang on to 4th position just ahead of the Hillspeed duo, and it was Jack Sherwood who was attacking to the outside of Tom Mills. Nicholas Taylor in 2nd position would try and keep Mills at bay as Werberski was clearing away into the distance. Sherwood was trying to grab 3rd position. He'd look around the inside, coming through Brundle into Nelson, and was not able to find his way past, at least for now. It was Tom Mills who was searching his way forward. He'd get around the outside of Nicholas Taylor at the first corner, and the two would make contact as they'd head their way down towards the Wilson hairpin. Nicholas Taylor was able to stay in the race. Jack Sherwood was having a bit of a moment in that number 78 Elite Motorsports car at the hairpin. He'd drive it in a little bit too deep, but would do that one a couple of times before he'd be able to get back onto the rear end of Nicholas Taylor. A bit of a moment for Logan Hannah as she'd go straight on at Oggies, dropping behind her teammate Chloe Grant for 7th position. Chloe Grant was able to march her way up and get into some clean air. Max Maserati with a big send down the inside of Jack Sherwood. The trio battling over 4th position. Sherwood with the up and under would get back to the inside coming into Hamilton, and Max Maserati would have to yield in the red and white Hillspeed. And so it was all about the battle for 2nd position. Nicholas Taylor alongside with Tom Mills, and Nicholas Taylor would get a rear puncture after a bit of contact, sending him straight off into the barrier, and he would be furious. Tom Mills was just about able to hang on, at least for then, but Jared Werberski would take the race victory. Tom Mills would drop back behind Maserati. Jack Sherwood straight around the outside. Megan Jilk's the final one to come through, whilst Werberski was walking away with the race victory, and the podium would be a drag race towards the line. Maserati by just 1/10 of a second, beating out Jack Sherwood. Super race once again, and a great victory for Jared Werberski, taking his 2nd win of the season. Maserati and Sherwood separated by just millimetres across the line, with Jilks and Mills rounding out the top 5, Grant, Hannah and Edgar rounding out our finishers, and Nicholas Taylor retiring from the race.
Well, I'm now here just lounging around next to the Tyrrell's restaurants here at Snetterton. Have you been into the Tyrrell's restaurant, Chloe?
Yes, I have.
Okay, Chloe Grant from Graham Brunton Racing with Laser Tools. I will get that name right one time. Anything good on offer today? What's the special?
I've not had any food. I've just, been having a little nosy at the lollies because it's a bit of a hot day. So
Okay, I see. They've got a good selection of Magnum ice creams and also baked potatoes. Banging if you ever come to Snetterton. Now we need to talk about you actually racing in inverted commas in Scotland, which I've seen some pictures on social media. What was that all about around the castle?
So me and Logan, and actually also Aidan and Dexter from BTCC Laser, we all went to Thurleston Castle for the Sir Jackie Stewart Classic. It was basically to celebrate all of Jackie Stewart's success in F1 and all over the years, and also to raise some money for Race Against Dementia, the charity that he's set up because his wife unfortunately has dementia. And it was a hill climb, so lots of people were being timed, and it was basically a race like you said, but me and Logan weren't being timed because we're too quick and also it might push us too hard, and we obviously didn't want an incident before a race weekend.
And that's the first time that all of the Laser Tools drivers have been represented at the same thing. So that must have been pretty cool for Laser Tools and for you as well, just being able to actually mix with these drivers that you probably sort of see behind the scenes, but not actually when you're in front of the public.
Yeah, it was really good actually. It was a great idea. Obviously we don't get any time together, the all four of us, because we are in separate championships and separate race weekends, and obviously we clash, so neither of us can go to each other's often. But yeah, it was really good, and it was interesting to be sitting behind the boys as we did our demo run together, and they were basically sideways the entire time.
Is there a sort of a bit an inkling for you to maybe sort of try out their cars? I mean, would they be up for a bit of a swap if that was an option? Just not for a race, but just for a little bit of a testing?
Definitely, I'd love to do that, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, we can look into the future. And it was raising, we don't know the exact amount that they were raising, but it's raising money for a good cause. And, is it something that's happening annually now?
Yes, so everyone kind of had separate bits where they were raising money. We actually set up a little station in front of our awning, so I was selling my hats for £15 minimum or above, and they would donate that to the charity, though I didn't take any of it. And we've given the bucket to them, and we're still waiting for them to tell us how much we've raised ourselves, and obviously then they'll tell everyone how much they raised overall. So yeah.
Great, so obviously follow Chloe Grant on social media if you want to find out how much, or you want to maybe buy some of your products and support that great cause. And let's look at this weekend so far. Yesterday, Saturday, you seem to have a bit of a sort of inter-team battle with Logan.
Yes, that was the first time that me and Logan have ever been close together, and it was the first time I've ever beaten her on track, which was a huge achievement for me. It's kind of like beating your teacher almost. So yeah, it was brilliant fun, and she's kept it clean, and we had fun.
Excellent. Well, look, we're going to watch this final race in just a second. Obviously, we're going to give you a little bit of time to go and prepare. Piers Pryor actually is in the queue at the Tyrrell's restaurant to get us a baked potato. So I think we've got to move on. But Chloe Grant with Graham Brunton Racing with Laser Tools. Good luck with that final race, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you again soon.
Welcome to Norfolk and to Snetterton as we race our way down to the Snetterton 300 circuit. Another one of these circuits that was built in the early 50s as a slew of old Air Force bases were turned into racetracks. This one of the longest of them at 3 miles long. Really is a tricky circuit, deceptively tricky. In fact, it's fairly flat all the way around its run, but it has the odd bump, the odd bit of undulation, and very, very tricky corners, divided up into the 3 sectors, all of which having great overtaking opportunities, down into the Montreal hairpin, into Agostini, and hey, even into the Brundle-Nelson complex at the end of the Bentley Straight. So much racing can happen around Snetterton.
Let's take an on-board lap with our double pole sitter Nicholas Taylor at the Snetterton 300 circuit, keeping right over the start-finish line to minimise the run as we head into the very, very fast Rich's corner. Just a lift in GB4, you'll see that he gets a massive amount of oversteer through the middle of the corner, potentially the wind that has been plaguing the drivers this weekend. Heavy braking zone, nice and late, down 4 gears into the Wilson or Montreal hairpin. A late apex for good traction, making sure not to use too much curb on the exit. Then up the gears, 3rd, 4th gear, down 1 gear. No, actually we're going up early to stabilise the car through the very tricky Palmer corner, the wind helping the car there. We then have the short run, 430 metres to Agostini hairpin, one of the main overtaking opportunities on the lap, especially on the first lap when the cars are all close together. Traction, very important out of this slow corner. We then head towards Hamilton, 1 lift, getting close to the tyres, make sure you don't hit it. Big handful of oversteer there, and then the braking zone for Oggies is very bumpy. Traction's important here, patient on the throttle. You can see you had to feather it slightly there. Then the very important run, again up early on the gears through Williams to settle the rear of the car to exit onto the onto the Bentley Straight, 790 metres. Even in these GB4 cars travelling at 135 miles an hour as we fly under the bridge, braking for Brundle and then into Nelson. Brundle, keep it left. Get in early, get on the curb, use the camber, and then square off the corner for Nelson. Exit's very important, not too high on that curb. We're then completely flat through the dip of the bum hole. Car compresses in the middle of the corner, on the curb on the exit. Then we're going to stay wide as we go around the entry of Coram to keep the steering open and to allow us a little bit of a straighter braking for the final corner, which is Murray's. You see Nicholas fighting the car there, even on one of his fastest laps of qualifying here, and then the all-important run down the centre straight to finish off a lap here of Snetterton 300 circuit.
Yeah, well, we're here down in the assembly area now. We're being waved at by one of the marshals. Isn't that nice? We've made a lot of friends here at Snetterton, and it's time for the final race almost. And we've got 3 female drivers in the first 3 places. So we had 2 female winners last time out, didn't we? And we could potentially have another female winner to end this weekend.
It looks like it's a high possibility with Jess Edgar on the front, starting from pole, and then Chloe Grant behind her in second place. And on the third row, we've got Logan Hanna. So previous race winner and Logan Hanna as well.
The Graham Brunton Racing with Laser Tools team, Logan Hanna and Chloe Grant. Logan going off in that last race there, having a little moment there. We haven't really caught up with Logan. We obviously spoke with Chloe not too long ago. You know, it'll be nice to see Chloe perhaps get on the podium, because we've seen Logan on there twice now, obviously won last time out, but Chloe hasn't quite matched her there. Yeah,
Chloe's been right up there on pace with Logan this weekend. They've been trading times. It's testament to how well they've been working together as a team, and also they've both developed the car and themselves, and they're now looking to hopefully take some podiums in this reverse grid race.
Absolutely, and Lucy is Chloe's sister, who would love to talk to us here. We're just talking about Chloe, and we're saying that obviously Logan being on the podium twice, it's time for Chloe to get on there.
Yeah, I hope so. Chloe's been doing really well this weekend. She's made up a place in races 1 and 2. So we're hoping for more of that, and she's been on the pace more than ever. So hopefully there's a podium in the near future.
Now, we heard from Chloe talking about Sir Jackie Stewart. Did he give her any sort of little tips, some insights into, you know, he had a sterling career, and maybe some tips there for Chloe?
I don't know. I mean, he did just say he's proud of her. I mean, he's watching her career and Logan's. Both Scottish girls, obviously, so he's watching closely, and he's just saying keep at it, because it'll come, and it has. Yeah.
Well, perhaps if you're watching, Sir Jackie, thank you very much for supporting the girls and the championship and GB4, and Lucy, thank you very much. We'll move on. Piers, we're looking at these cars here at the front of the grid, and obviously we need to talk about cars at the back of the grid. Nicholas Taylor in that second race there, not finishing, which has been his problem. You know, we talked about Max Maserati being consistent. Nicholas Taylor, he needs to stop missing out on points if he's, you know, can stay at the top of the championship and eventually win.
Yeah, it's one thing winning a race, you can have the pace, but winning a championship is all about consistency. Make sure you finish, make sure you get consistent good results, and unfortunately that has shown that now Max Maserati is in the lead of the championship, having not won a race, and he will be hoping to change that, of course, whether it's this race or races coming through to the rest of the year. But yeah, there's a lot more to winning a championship than just one race.
There really is. I think we should probably just move out of the way of the cars, just in case they come through. So we're going to walk and talk a little bit here. Let's have a look what we can go to here. We're just hearing there's some barrier repairs going around on the track, so we may just have a bit longer here to chat to some of the drivers. Okay. Who should we go to? I mean, we were talking about Jack Sherwood just a little while ago, and we met his dad, and I think we can see him. I don't know where he is, but in terms of, you know, Jack has done very well recently, because it feels like I always know when a driver's done well, because it feels like I've spoken to them quite a lot on the podium, and we've spoken to him twice already, and you know, really starting to come into his own, but. You know, losing his teammate Alex Walker from the Elite Motorsports team is tricky, because just when Jack's getting there and, you know, using that data from his teammate and building something together, you know, he's not here now, so he's going it alone. Do you think that's, you know, it's going to hamper his progression?
I think he should be okay for this weekend, because they've already got the data. He's already here. He's clearly done well. We had fastest lap in race 1 yesterday. But going forward, if they're doing some testing, it just means that it's a bit harder to find the areas where you can improve. With less drivers, you've got less reference points, less data to look at. So it looks like we're going green, so we better get out of the way.
I'm going to have a very quick word of Max Maserati. Are you going to end the weekend as the championship leader?
Sure.
Sure. He said sure. He said sure. Ever confident Max Maserati there. The cars are leaving. I've got to get out of the way. We'll hand over to our commentator, Lewis McGlade, for the final race of the GB4 Championship here at Snetterton.
Quite as... I've never seen John Jackson run quite so fast to go and catch a word with Max Maserati. But either way, he did race over there to grab a couple of words with the championship leader. 7 podiums to his name. Still yet to take a victory. Is today the day? Not so sure myself. I'd say the issue really does come from the likes of Jack Sherwood, who starts this race from 4th position, is going to be incredibly fast. It's at the fastest lap of the race in the first race of the weekend on Saturday. He is going to be a difficult man to beat. We'll start this race from 4th behind Logan Hannah, Chloe Grant and Jessica Edgar, who for the 2nd time here at Snetterton will start the reverse grid race from the pole. The number 17, she dropped back a little bit though in the first the first time we had the reverse grid race here at Snetterton. She ended up finishing that race in 10th position despite starting it from the pole. That was after some early issues. I think she stalled on the grid, if memory serves. It was a few months ago. And with 10 races left to go in the season, it's going to be a tricky run into the checkered flag. We're just waiting for them to head out onto the grid. There is Jessica Edgar pulling away. You've got Chloe Grant on the left-hand side of them. And Chloe Grant will head out first. Obviously, Chloe Grant will be starting from 2nd position and Jessica Edgar from the reverse grid pole. But for them, I mean, our focus has really got to be on the championship right here. An issue for Jessica Edgar's car. It did crawl away a little bit, and they are struggling to get it started. And again, that is the pole sitter, the number 17, the Fortec Motorsport machine. Could be a couple of issues. Does manage to get it going just ahead of Jack Sherwood, so she will join the grid hopefully. Although it does seem to be crawling quite a bit. You can see mechanics running straight over to us. There's already dramas within that camp. Marshall's running over as well. Oh, could there be issues for Jessica Edgar? Chloe Grant, or Logan Hannah rather, will roll onto a very empty grid because Chloe Grant's already gone onto the front row of the grid, the number 10, although I think she's got a little bit confused with where she's supposed to have lined up there and has gone for the pole spot, which, to be fair, she was the first one out onto the starting grid, so I can understand that one being a bit confusing. But Chloe Grant, I mean, she said before the race, of course, when we had that interview with John Jackson over at the cafe, that she was saying about how it was basically a big win for her, beating out her teammate yesterday in the Saturday race, and she did it again today with a 6th place finish, her best finish in the GB4 Championship. Now she's starting from the front row of the grid. Logan Hannah has taken a victory this season, and so for me, for Chloe Grant, I think she's going to be feeling very, very confident of potentially even something major in here. You can see a green flag waving in the background, so I think they're about to begin the formation lap. -1 car because Jessica Edgar is not on that grid. So clearly the dramas that were dealing with Jessica Edgar there on the departure of the formation area, I think it's a bit of a shame. That's a big shame for Jessica Edgar. There she is in pit lane. So yes, there is some serious dramas for that 17, and it will not be starting this race from on the grid. Hopefully they do manage to start it from pit lane. We saw a couple of issues for the likes of James Headley and Nick Gilks in GB3 yesterday, and James Headley was able to start the race at least from the pit lane, so hopefully the same fortune does head the way of Jessica Edgar. She did have to start from pit lane at Alton Park, if memory serves. She ended up finishing in 10th position in that race, the opening race of the weekend, where we had 3 stallers, I think it was. It might have been 4. The formation lap though will get underway, and Chloe Grant having a bit of an issue getting away there in the 2nd phase of the initial starts. Everyone will pull their way away from the grid, and there is Nicholas Taylor in the final spot on the grid. It will become 8th position as he'll be down the order, of course, and came into this round as a championship leader. Was looking like it was a championship lead which he wouldn't lose. Unfortunately, we can confirm he has done so. 3 points the advantage that Max Maserati will hold into this race. And obviously starting a few positions ahead. It does mean that Nicholas Taylor can gain a couple of extra points as we'll take a look at our grid. Jessica Edgar was originally slated to start from pole position. She will not do so. She'll be starting hopefully from the pit lane. Chloe Grant in 2nd, alongside her teammate Logan Hannah, will essentially become the front row of the grid. Jack Sherwood will effectively start from 3rd, and then Megan Gilks, Max Maserati alongside the Hill Speed duo on row number 3. Behind that will be Jared Boberski and Tom Mills. and then of course Nicholas Taylor. Considering that Tom Mills and Nicholas Taylor had contact in the previous race, both of them, I did talk to Nicholas Taylor between the races, both of them have received 2 licence points from race control to be added to their little licence portfolio, and they can go up to 12 before they get a race ban, so don't worry too much, but it's a bit of a slap on the wrist for 2 drivers that were racing quite aggressively in the previous one.
Yeah, they both got a similar penalty on their licence for effectively the same thing, because as we mentioned, it was a very similar incident both at the start of the race and the end of the race, but with the roles reversed. Unfortunately, the last one was the more damaging of the contacts, which ended Nicholas Taylor's race, but Tom Mills also lost a lot of places because of that. So both of them learned from it. Spoke briefly to Tom Mills after the race, and he didn't seem like he felt that it was quite exactly the same incident twice, but that's their own. I suppose that's their own opinion.
So the important question for this race: who's going to win?
Got to
ask.
Oh.
I know who my pick is.
I am going to go Jack Sherwood.
I was also going to go Jack Sherwood.
I beat you to it, mate. I did it first.
The thing is, Jack Sherwood's going to be starting this race from 3rd. Now, Chloe Grant and Logan Hannah are both very, very quick. The problem is that Sherwood has been so fast this weekend, has had a podium, and by the way, has a streak which no one else has had in GB4 so far, has 4 consecutive podiums. Not any other driver has been able to get 4 consecutive podiums, and Jack Sherwood could be the first driver to get 3 podiums from one weekend if he finishes on the podium in this race. So a couple of things that Jack Sherwood can be ticking off here.
Not even Mr. Consistency had those stats.
No, not even. He has had 3 podiums on the bounce, but they weren't over the same round.
Yes, of course.
So yeah, he had the podium in the final race at Alton Park, and then 2 to start off Silverstone. But obviously, never a win. Jack Sherwood's also not won. He's in prime position to potentially take that one off. We could see 3 different winners across the weekend. Who knows?
Who knows? And the reason we're talking about Jack Sherwood is no disrespect to Logan Hannah or Chloe Grant, because they've shown some great pace. We've seen them racing together, but it's just the pure pace that Jack Sherwood has been showing this weekend. Unfortunately, I didn't get quite enough time to have a look at the tyre situation. I know we only have 2 tyres to take between 2 new tyres to take between the 3 races after qualifying, 6 tyres total. So yeah, I'm not sure who's taking tyres where.
It was the Kevin Mills racing cars that took the right side tyres in the previous race, wasn't it?
No, it was Kevin Mills. Oh, sorry, Kevin Mills with right-hand side tyres. Yes, you are correct.
Yeah, so they're going to move those tyres over to the left now, and then put some potentially less worn tyres on the right-hand side.
Yes, again, tyre strategy is quite confusing, but I don't imagine many cars will have saved all their new tyres or any new tyres for this race, because they've only got 2. So it will we'll see how we go. It seems like it's going to be pace is going to be key. If Jack Sherwood can do some of the moves he's shown and use some of the pace that he's shown, I don't see there's any reason why he can't get through these 2 Graham Brunson racing with Laser Tools cars, because he's just had the pace over them. But however, who knows? We've seen Logan Hannah. She's a race victor. Winner. She's a race victor. She knows how to do it. She knows what she's doing there. Potentially Chloe Grant with her first opportunity now, effectively on what is pole position. It is 2nd place, but she is starting on the 2nd grid position, but she is now probably pole. So here we go. Again,
Chloe Grant has beaten her teammate in the 2 previous races this weekend. It's the first time that she's been able to do it. She is in prime position to do something special this weekend and take her first victory, but she'll have to fend off her teammate and, of course, the chasing pack of Jack Sherwood and now our new championship leader in Max Maserati. This is going to be a sensational race as we round out the weekend. Get yourselves ready for round 15 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, as we get ready to go racing once again at Snetterton. The initial launch from Logan Hannah was good, but the 2nd phase wasn't so much. Same with Megan Jilks as well, who's got up into 4th position. Jack Sherwood already up into 2nd as he races his way to the outside, coming into Ridges. Chloe Grant's defending the inside. Jack Sherwood straight around the outside, and that Elite Motorsports, the black and yellow machine. And boom, Jack Sherwood has gone from 3rd straight up to the race lead. A super start from Jack Sherwood, as there's dicing in the background. That's Tom Mills with the orange highlights on that grey and blue Kevin Mills racing car that went in deep. He manages to fend off Nicholas Taylor. They're side by side for 5th, as I believe that'll be Max Maserati just trying to hang it around the outside. It's Megan Jilks actually, rather, just on the outside of Jared Waberski.
That's an excellent start from Jack Sherwood, wasting no time getting past both Graham Brunson racing cars. That number 78 black and yellow car. Whoa, big move from Max Maserati up the inside of Logan Hannah into Agostini. Great move.
Super Stuff, and again, that's your championship leader already up onto the podium. Super Stuff as the two Kevin Mills racing cars are going side by side. It's Tom Mills with the orange highlights going around the outside of Waberski with the yellow helmet and the yellow mirrors. But look at this from Nicholas Taylor, already looking straight down the inside, and that number 66 red and white Fortec machine wasn't able to do so. A couple of kicks of oversteer as well on the exit of Oggies. And there is Jack Sherwood, your race leader. He's already trying to pull away, and he knows that he needs to. But we're speaking of Jack Sherwood having his best chance for his first race victory. Max Maserati, who's already up in the third, he's charging and he's looking for his first.
Whoever's got the best race. Max Maserati looking for second place now at the inside of Chloe Grant.
Super Stuff down the inside. He's going to send it into Brundle, and boom, he's up into second place. It's a big charge from the 81 of Max Maserati, who's up in the second.
Here we go. This is now a fight. Max Maserati is going to be chasing down Jack Sherwood for the remaining 16 minutes and 20 seconds.
This is incredible stuff. Look at this as well. Megan Jilk straight around the outside. Got Waberski there as well in that number 20, and Nick Taylor is trying to make it stick as well. Got to the inside. Bit of a front wing issue there. Oh, Logan Hanna's gone straight on as well with the Graham Brunton racing car. You're absolutely right. There is a front wing issue on Megan Jilks.
That's really unfortunate for Megan Jilks. There must have been some contact at some point around the first corners, because you could see her front wing hanging off there in that red and white hill speed car just coming towards us now.
Nicholas Taylor straight to the outside of Jared Waberski for what is now 6th and 7th position. Bit of a grass being kicked up there from someone high. I think that one might have actually been Tom Mills as Jared Waberski down the inside. Megan Jilks getting pushed out a little bit wide there, and of course Nicholas Taylor's going to come through as well. So Megan Jilks drops back down into 7th position. There's Logan Hanna in the pit lane, so clearly a couple of issues for her. Maybe it was the same kind of issues, similar spot to what we had Matthew Rees having issues with yesterday in GB3.
Yeah.
So clearly a bit of a problem there for Logan Hanna.
That's really unfortunate for Logan Hanna. We also just saw Jessica Edgar leaving the pit lane when they were coming round. She left the pit lane late, so she has joined the race, but is going to be right at the back, unfortunately.
She's literally just picking up scraps of what everyone else drops off. We'll see if, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that Megan Jilks can actually reach the checkered flag with that front wing intact. But of course, those that stay out in the race will still receive points. As long as you reach the checkered flag, you get points. And of course, I mean, this isn't something which applies to Jessica Edgar. You do gain points for each position you gain from your starting position. So it's not just overtakes, it's from your starting position. So Jack Sherwood was slated to start from 4th. He's essentially gained 3 positions now by leading the race, but he might well be losing one fairly soon, because Max Maserati is right there. He has been charging straight up to the rear end of Sherwood.
Maserati in the sector 2, the middle sector, 4/10 a lap faster than Jack Sherwood in one sector alone. He is chomping down that gap. He's got the bit between his teeth. We were discussing that Max Maserati, our current championship leader, has not won a race yet. John was even saying, can he win without winning a race? Well,
he can,
but he might not do that anyway.
Yeah.
He might win a race now and then that. I think Max would rather win a race.
Whilst Max Maserati could win the championship without winning a race, I don't think he will, because I think he will win a race. That is the more determined factor there. Here's Nick Taylor to the outside in that 66 Fortec machine. It's the 20 of Jared Waberski with that distinctive yellow helmet holding on at the moment. There's one of the distinctive things with the Kevin Mills racing cars is they are fast in a straight line. There's Tom Mills down the inside. He set the fastest lap of the race in the previous one. He's cleared Chloe Grant and is now up into 3rd position. But those Kevin Mills racing cars, they are absolute bullets in a straight line. They run that thing as slick as they can on the wings, as fast as they can in a straight line. It does mean they're a little bit more tricky in the corners, but they are hard to pass in the straights.
Hard to pass, and also gives them opportunities to... Oh, Tom Mills, again, we mentioned that in the previous race. He hangs the tyre right over the edge of the track there, which is margin for error, absolutely nil.
Yeah, I mean, he was close to spinning it out a couple of times, just based on the fact of how far over to the right side. If you get that wrong, if you touch that grass
on the brakes,
you're going straight on.
You are spinning round or going straight on. If you touch that grass, it's very sandy soil around here in the Norfolk countryside, as you can see on the outside of that Oggies corner there, and you've seen when the dust gets kicked up when they run wide. You get that on your tyres, and the grip is next to 0, and even if you just dip a wheel on the grass, you'll have dirt on your tyres for 2 or 3 corners afterwards, which can leave you vulnerable to the cars in front. Look at the sun is beaming down. You can see the heat haze in the circuit. The track temp's gone up a lot. Go on.
Did I see, so Maserati, was he in the lead of the race as we saw them coming through the shot there?
We haven't got shot the leaders.
I do believe I did just see the 81 in the lead of the race.
Yes,
that's it. I think it's Jessica Edgar.
Okay.
I think it is indeed.
Jessica Edgar. This could hold up. This could hold up. Jack Sherwood though, because he's got a nice toe actually. He hasn't held on too bad. And good drive from Jess Edgar. She knows she's had struggles at the start of the race. She's let the leaders go through. As a mechanical flag for 64, that is Megan Jilks with that front wing. Unfortunate for her, she'll have to come in and get that changed.
Yeah, the meatball flag, of course. So she'll receive it this time by she'll come into the pit lane to have that front wing repaired. Yeah, sorry, a bit of a heart and mouth moment there, as I was definitely sure that was a red and white car at the front. It was, but it wasn't the one that we were expecting. There's Jessica Edgar there, so she's obviously rejoined the racetrack after the issues at the start. There was Werberski with Chloe Grant straight down the inside. So Grant's actually lost out because she's now behind because she's dropped back quite a few positions. Werberski's going to go straight around the outside, who's just set the fastest lap of the race, and he's going to try and chase down his teammates. So Chloe Grant's clearly not quite got the pace of the likes of Mills, Werberski, and the next one coming through, which is Nicholas Taylor, looking down the inside into Agostini. He's really got to send it in. That's a big send though from Nicholas Taylor. He wasn't really there.
I called it as going. I don't think there's enough space there. So that was a door that was always going to close, and that's something that you do have to make sure that you make a good decision, because if you drive into a gap that's always going to close, you're only either risking your front wing or risking contact with the wheels, which can potentially end your race. If you're going to make a move, you need it to be assertive and decisive and make sure that you can get through in one go, because otherwise it will cost you a lot of time. Tom Mills now.
Oh, this is just going down. We're really panicking over this one, but despite it being a 3-mile circuit, they're all basically kind of met with Jessica Edgar going a lap down, so don't panic too much about that. Jack Sherwood, since being under pressure from Max Maserati, has been able to find a little bit of pace in the second part, really, of this race. We're approaching the halfway point. We've done 3 laps of racing. This is the completion of the 4th, and we're expecting this to be a 10-lap race, so there's still 6 more left to go. There's plenty more opportunities for Maserati to try and find his way past this man, Jack Sherwood, in number 78 Elite Motorsports car. There is Maserati in that number 81, really hounding down, and do not rule out those Kevin Mills racing cars. They have been fast this weekend.
Well, we've seen so far this race, both Tom Mills and Jared Werberski have set fastest laps of the race. So, although saying that, Sherwood has just set the fastest lap of the race quite comfortably by quite a few tenths. Taylor now trying to have a look past Chloe Grant, who's moving backwards through the field. She's just not quite got the pace this race.
No, it's a bit of a shame for the Graham Brunton Racing Tools, Graham Brunton Racing Team, powered by Laser Tools. See, I can't get it. John Jackson can't get it right. I certainly can't. As they'll race their way. There is the front wing being switched on the number 64 Hillspeed car of Megan Jilks. Big shame for her. I mean, this could have been some decent points, but I will say for the Hillspeed team, at least they'll be happy that one of their drivers is right at the front. She, of course, won the 3rd race here. There is the move from Nicholas Taylor, straight down the inside of Chloe Grant. That's coming into Hamilton, I do believe.
Agostini.
Oh, no, Agostini, yeah, you are right.
Just different camera angle this time.
I was panicking.
They're throwing us off.
They're really trying to challenge us right now this race. Yeah, but Megan Jilks, she did win that 3rd race back in Snetterton, of course, at the start of the season.
Yeah.
Bit of a shame, but still the Hillspeeds are clearly fast around here.
That's Megan Jilks leaving the pit lane now, so she will try and salvage any points she can. There she is. She'll be really disappointed with that. It's just, again, the margins are so fine. Small amount of contact, front wing gone, race over effectively in terms of challenging for a podium.
But she'll be outscored. I know it's not so much to say, but she's trying to score some points. She'll be beating Jessica Edgar and potentially Logan Hanna as well in this race, which does mean she'll be in 7th. She'll be picking up the points for 7th place, which is handy, at least not for a championship challenge, but it's just to keep her towards the top 5 in the standings, which is obviously where you want to be.
Exactly. She's been showing that she's had great pace different points in the year. She's had consistent finishes as well. Unfortunately, her DNF at Auckland Park, but she's right up there, and she's been on the pace. Those Hillspeed cars have pretty much been locked together every race I've watched until, unfortunately, this race where she's had a bit of an issue. That gap at the lead has definitely opened out. Jack Sherwood, the last couple of laps, has put the hammer down. Boom. Another fastest lap, 49.7, a cool 4 tenths faster than Max Maserati that last lap.
Watch out for Werberski across the line, but he does a 49.9 as well, trying to close in on his teammate Tom Mills. But super lap time there from Jack Sherwood, who again will remind you he did set the fastest lap of the race in the 1st race of the weekend, and has been looking incredibly fast this weekend. Nicholas Taylor, after getting past Chloe Grant, has got a bit of a challenge to catch Werberski. It's 2.7 seconds, and Werberski wasn't a million miles away from the fast lap of the race. That is going to be a hard gap to catch. Yeah, definitely. Jack Sherwood, I spoke to his dad just in between the races, just before this race started, and he said that Jack's got a lot of confidence recently, ever since Silverstone. He's found that he's got a lot more comfortable with the car, he's feeling good, he's feeling like he's getting used to it, having previously only raced Ginettas and karts, so that confidence is showing in his race pace, really, and also the fact that he's leading from the front and pulling away over a second the gap now. So we were talking about this earlier on the season in the Nick Taylor versus Alex Walker battle, right? And we were saying that for Alex Walker, who was looking pretty comfortable after 2 rounds, we were saying that the moment that Nicholas Taylor builds that confidence and finds that confidence and clicks into gear, Nicholas Taylor is going to be a hard man to beat. And that confidence clicked. And guess what? He became quite a hard man to beat. I wonder if it would be ill-advised to underestimate Jack Sherwood, who is looking for his fifth consecutive podium, and he is currently 4th in the standings. He is marching his way to the top. I know it's a big gap, but rule him out at your own peril.
Well, it's 245, plays 307 at the start of this race. Jack Sherwood will be the highest scorer from this weekend if he wins this race, guaranteed with 3 podiums. And if he can continue that form, there's no reason why that gap can't come down to nearly nothing by the end of the season.
Yeah, and like I say, such a super. This is the beautiful thing about a championship such as GB4 is that we're watching drivers learn and build over the season. It's not as if you start the season and that form is locked in for the entirety. And it's kind of one of those joys of coming back to a circuit which we've already visited so far in the season, is that you get to see what drivers have learned, what they've built on throughout the season whilst we've been away. And for Jack Sherwood, it is clearly quite a lot, because he didn't have a podium at all in the GB4 Championship until the final race of Silverstone, and from that point on he's only been off the podium in 1 race.
There you go, that is it. It's great to see the drivers develop both their skills on circuit but also off circuit. John and I were talking about how we've been impressed at the start of the season. Nicholas Taylor, he'd never been in front of a camera really, because he'd never raced a car. He felt a bit uncomfortable. Now he loves coming up and having a chat. He's been on cameras loads, and he's turning into a really well-rounded driver. Jack Sherwood, another one of those. He's really comfortable in front of the camera these days. He tells us how he's going every race, and now he's able to lead race from the front and gap. And again, another 4/10 that last lap.
And soon enough they'll be big timing you and telling you that they don't have time for your interview. We've got to go and do something. It's like, okay, cool, nice one, big shot. But either way, Jack Sherwood is leading by 1.5 seconds. The 2 Kevin Mills racing cars, the orange mirrors, of course, that one being Tom Mills, son of the team manager Kevin Mills. You'd be shocked to hear that Kevin Mills is the team manager of Kevin Mills Racing. Presently, though, leading that little group. Waberski, actually, you know how we were saying about how Sherwood is looking to get 3 podiums from the weekend, how that'll be the first time to do it. Don't rule out Waberski, because Waberski is also in that category, and he would outscore Jack Sherwood in doing so, because he had a 2nd place and a win in the previous race. So another big point score. And whilst we're saying don't count Jack Sherwood out of the championship, do not count out the number 20. He's
also ahead of Jack Sherwood in the championship fight, a few points as well. So Jared Waberski's kind of, in a way, gone under the radar a little bit this weekend. He's always been there. Obviously, he got that win, which was excellent.
Yeah, it's dominant.
It was very dominant this morning, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so I say under the radar. His qualifying wasn't the strongest. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but
3rd and 2nd.
3rd and 2nd as opposed to Tom Mills 2nd and 3rd, so they were right together. Doing excellently once again. He's already a race winner this season. Not going to win this race. It's unlikely. Sorry, anything can happen, as we saw in the last race, that final lap drama. But it looks like he's unlikely to win this one. But another podium would do him well.
Yeah, 3 laps left to go in the race. I mean, I love the risk that Tom Mills is taking down into Agostini, where he's basically playing with fire. He knows exactly where the right-hand side of that car is. I love it.
I love it. It shows that he knows his car. He feels confident. He's using all the road, which is what your job is as a racing driver, to use all the track to your advantage, and he's doing that. But it does. Every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's not going to take much for you to end your race there. But if he can continue to do it that consistently, it shows his skill.
Yeah, and like I say, just been absolutely on. I mean, I am glad, as a fan of GB4, I am glad that the Kevin Mills racing cars are once again finding their speed. They've had a couple of issues the previous few rounds. Now, whilst Waberski has had a podium in every single round of the GB4 Championship, they've struggled for speed quite a bit. They weren't super fast back in Donington Park. Tom Mills, the 21 here, was having countless issues at Silverstone with the car. It seems as though all of those issues are alleviated, and I would argue between the pair of them, kind of hard to argue when you compare them to the likes of the Hill Speed duo, but for me, this duo, they have been inseparable all weekend, and they have been, for me, the fastest team all weekend. As a duo of drivers, they have been locked together and normally at the front.
I think that would be hard to argue against. We can see Jack Sherwood in the lead, but one car team, you can't really compare that, whereas 3rd and 2nd, 2nd and 3rd in qualifying, then they won with Jared Waberski and podiums. So, yeah, and then we see Jack Sherwood. He's still romping away in the lead. That last lap, again, another cool 4/10 faster than Max Maserati, who doesn't seem to quite have an answer to Sherwood's pace. I've been hearing mutterings that Sherwood has got a pretty good power underneath that rear bonnet, but you've still got to drive it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing. You as teams, you're setting up the cars, you're maintaining the parts. That's kind of like the critical thing that we almost kind of forget as fans, is that these cars, it's not as if they're just brand new every single race. They've got to maintain the parts. They've got to clean them up. They've got to know when to replace things. That's a mechanic's job, to understand what needs to be done and when and how to maintain the stuff so that it is optimized to the finest margins, to the 0.00%.
Yeah, the finest margins make the difference. We saw in qualifying between the two Kevin Mills cars again, 1,000th of a second. What is that? Like 10 seconds, around 2.9 miles or 10 centimetres. That is absolutely nothing.
Absolutely incredible stuff between the two of them. Like I said, they've just been locked on speed all the time. Nicholas Taylor has not been able to close down. I think if I was Nicholas Taylor, he's probably cruising right now, trying to get some points on. He's understanding. Had a chat with him. He was obviously irritated by what happened in the previous race. Has dealt with things behind the scenes. It's one of those things of the inconsistency that he's had. When you talk of the Mr. Consistency, now the championship leader of Max Maserati, one of the things that Nicholas Taylor hasn't had is that consistency. He's had 5 race victories, has had 7, 8 podiums, I think, in the championship so far. But the issue that he struggles with is that consistency, because he's made a couple of ill-fated attempts. Let's talk about that 4-wide bit at Silverstone, for example. The spin here in race 2. He's learning car racing. He's not done car racing before. He's learning it bit by bit. He just needs to learn that sometimes
discretion is the best part of valour.
Exactly.
Oftentimes it is anyway.
Yeah, and that one, for example, I mean, if he just left the gap, I'm sure he might have lost the podium to Tom Mills, or that particular Tom Mills and finished down 3rd, but he would still be the championship leader.
It's also when to push, when to do the big moves. That was
big moment from Tom Mills.
He's not hanging about, is he? And let's watch him get right up against the grass again on the right hand side. Oh! There we go. It's predictable. It's very predictable.
But it still scares us every time.
Every time. Nothing if not consistent. And his last laps have been pretty consistent as well, because his last lap was his fastest lap of the race, and about the same pace as he did the lap before. So.
And Sherwood did set the fastest lap of the race.
Another fastest lap. Again, that's even more. That's now 6/10 faster than Max Maserati. He's pulling away. He's going faster and faster and faster.
This is kind of like, it's a hard thing to explain, even to me, or especially to the audience. When you are one with the car and one with the circuit, it is electric. You just click and it's easy. It's almost effortless.
Absolutely. That is the thing. Is once you feel in the zone, you're happy with the car, you're feeling groove with the circuit, you're confident, and you're leading a race like this, it does feel effortless, even though he's setting the fastest laps of the race. He's admitted himself he's slightly overdriven in qualifying, which has often led to him not being in a position he thinks he should have done based on the pace. We know that he was rapid in testing on Thursday and Friday, and then didn't quite convert that into qualifying, whereas when everything's working, you don't feel like you don't have to overdrive.
Well, Jack Sherwood is going to win the 15th race of the season then, across the line in that number 78 Elite Motorsports car. Absolutely dominant. Incredible drive from Jack Sherwood. Max Maserati, though, wow, is he our championship leader? Another podium, 2nd place for him. And then, of course, joined on the podium by Tom Mills. Jack Sherwood becomes the first driver in GB4 then to take a podium in all 3 races, taking his first ever victory and moving his way right into championship contention. 5 consecutive podiums. Absolutely incredible form from Jack Sherwood. Max Maserati and Tom Mills behind were Bursky, Taylor, and Chloe Grant drops down to 6th position. Jilks does cross the line in 7th, ahead of Logan Hanna, and Jessica Edgar a lap down in 9th spot. They do all finish the race though, so they will critically all receive the points. That's obviously what really cost Nicholas Taylor in the previous race after the retirement. A bit of a shame there for Taylor not to be able to work his way forwards, but for Maserati, it is a big points gain in the championship. And another critical podium for him. It's his 8th podium in 2022. Maserati is just looking incredible. Here's Jessica Edgar. Also, that would be Megan Jilks rather across the line, because Edgar has already crossed the line. We'll be waiting for Logan Hanna as well in 8th spot. The 3 girls at the back being Jilks, Hanna and Edgar, all having some pretty serious issues. Edgar not being able to really start the race. Logan Hanna obviously having issues in the race start with problems coming into the final corner, and then Megan Jilks with the front wing issue. Big shame for them, but still, at least least getting across the line to the all-important points-paying finish. There is Piers Pryor. Go on, son. Crossing the road, obviously, to head his way over into the podium, where we'll catch up with Jack Sherwood for the 5th consecutive race and the 3rd time this weekend. He might well be getting bored of the face of John Jackson, but I don't think he's getting bored of finishing on the podium. Maserati, again, it's just the consistency of that man. And Tom Mills, I've got to say, for Tom Mills, great to see him back onto the podium. Incredibly, for Mills, that is actually the first actual podium that we've seen Tom Mills in since Alton Park. Since round 5, he started off the season, the first 5 races of the season, he started off with 3 podiums. Absolutely incredible, and was right up there in the Champions Challenge. And then, unfortunately, a couple of issues for him, for the team, for Kevin Mills Racing, has finished further down the back end of the top 10. Has been working his way back up inside the top 5 with a couple of top 5s at Donington Park. This round with only 1 top 5, which was in the previous race, but did finish technically on the road in a podium position in the first race of the weekend, and of course this race finishing on the podium. There is Jack Sherwood, and there'll be big congratulations even from the GB3 drivers. Can see the likes of John Bennett and James Headley all standing by to give their congratulations as well. And to right, we do know that the Elite Motorsports team, whilst they do have the GB4 drivers here, the GB3 drivers, they're all quite close. They all get along very well, and they all do indeed communicate with each other to a positive degree. Seems like there's good vibes within the team, at least at the moment. Big shame for Alex Walker not to be here this weekend, with them obviously parting ways with the Elite Motorsport squad. So we'll see if we can see Alex Walker at another time, but we will catch up with our drivers because John Jackson is standing by.
Thank you very much, Lewis. Just watching here, I mean, Jack Sherwood, his maiden victory, so he spent a lot of time celebrating with the other Elite Motorsports drivers from GB3 and a lot of the Elite Motorsports team who have congregated the other side of the fence just to my left over here. But you can just see Jack just getting out of the car. We'll let Carly from the GB4 Championship give him his winner's hat, which is very, very important, obviously with the sponsor of the tyres. You can see them cooling down that engine there, getting some air into there. Make sure that engine is okay for the next round, which is the last weekend in July, but we'll talk about that more in a little bit. Hey Jack, congratulations, your first win. Tops off a decent weekend for you.
Yeah, not too bad. We got a good start, and then I did Chloe around the outside, and then we just I tried to get my head down and pull a gap in case anything happened. Yeah, I think it's been a good weekend in general. Maybe a few areas in that last race where in race 2, where we could have made a few more positions, but in general I think it's been a good weekend. The team have put out a mega car all weekend, and yeah, I'm looking forward going into Silverstone.
Now, you don't know this, but I was chatting with your dad on the way to the assembly area there, and he's saying that I'm very proud of how you've progressed so far in this season and how he felt something just clicked at Silverstone. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think, you know, it was always going to be tricky coming into my first year in single-seaters, but I think we've adapted quite well, and the team have helped me massively. I mean, I couldn't have made this jump without them. But yeah, definitely after Silverstone, you know, we kind of clicked, as Dad said, and no, I'm very happy with that.
Excellent. Well, you're making your way up the leaderboard. A little bit of a break now until the next round at Silverstone. So we'll see you very soon, and we'll let you go to the podium and accept your trophy in a second. And I will just say, I mean, he can't hear me now, but I was going to say, just watch out for Max Maserati on that podium. We know what Max does with his not champagne. It's always a little bit wild. We can see Max being interviewed here. I was going to hold him off for a second there. Hello, Mr. Consistency. TM, trademark, registered trademark.
George Russell stole off me.
Apparently, okay, well, in that case...
No, he had it after I did. You guys were calling me at first.
Right, okay, that's fine. I feel like we've got the intellectual property there. A decent race for you. We're still waiting for your maiden race win, and not quite there because of, the pace of the winner.
Well, yeah, no, Sherwood's been so quick all weekend. He really deserved the win. All weekend he's just been rapid. I don't know what happened in qualifying, but he's been driving really, really well. Whenever I've been battling with him, he's been so harsh but fair. It's been really, really good fun, so he really deserved that. I'm really happy with that. We had a mega first lap. I did get behind Jack early on, but Jack's pace was really good, so he started eking a lead, and I just thought, you know what, let's just stay consistent. We've got an easy P2 here. There's no point throwing it off and losing everything we're going to be gaining. So, you know, last night we were thinking it's going to be a damage limitation weekend, and that's been 1/4 and 2 seconds in the championship lead. So,
Not bad at all. I asked you in the car before the race started whether you'd be ending the weekend as the championship leader. I didn't really get your answer, but I assume you were very blasé and said yes, and you are ending the weekend as the championship leader.
I said sure, but it wasn't actually a confident sure. I wasn't really sure.
I thought you were being very, very blasé there.
I had no clue what was going to happen in that race. I knew the first lap was crucial, so I was working so hard to get my tyres up to temp, because we were all so close together.
Yeah.
It was going to be who could get in front of those guys quickly, and there was a moment when Edgar was holding Jack up, and I thought that maybe that could play into our hands, but I think it's actually better that it didn't, because it meant we could just focus on ourselves, do our time. Me and Jack started battling, that would have brought everyone else back into it, and that could have meant we lost the championship lead. So it's all about staying consistent, banking the points.
Okay, look, we're pushed for time. Very, very quickly, there's 3 rounds to go. You're the championship leader now here at Snetterton. Are you going to win the championship?
Hell yes.
Okay, we're going to let you go and spray some champagne now. Not champagne, whatever it is. Anyway, Tom Mills, sorry Tom, a little push for time, but after a weekend where you were doing so well in that first race, got the penalty, second race didn't work out for you, it must be nice to have got a trophy, be on the podium in this third race.
Yeah, it's a good end to come from 8th to 3rd. We had a obviously tough weekend, the 2 things that I should have had better results in those 2, but it's good to come back after the few tough meetings and a tough day yesterday, so yeah, happy to be back on the podium.
And a good weekend for the team as well, obviously with Jared winning that second race.
Yeah, the team have worked so hard, and it's showed by both of us being super fast, so hopefully we're on the up now for the last 3 meetings.
Okay, Tom, we're going to let you go to the podium. Congratulations. Third place there. Tom Mills racing for his dad's team, Kevin Mills Racing. I'll hand over to Lewis McGlade as we're about to get run over by a car.
So before it was the local team and the local lad marching his way forward, and potentially so Jack Sherwood taking that victory and able to catch up with him post-race. There he is. Obviously swarmed by fans of the team, obviously. Naturally, as you would do after such an incredible weekend of racing. 2 fastest laps, 3 podiums and a single victory as well, taking his first win. The questions will be, though, as John Bennett comes up to say his congratulations once again. When will Max Maserati take that victory? That's the critical thing. It's another podium for him, another second place. And the podium surely isn't just good enough for Maserati. He wants a win. He's not too far away from doing so. It's a 6th consecutive top 5 finish, which I believe is the longest streak of top 5s that we've got in the championship so far from Maserati. He's finished in the top 5 to start, well, all 3 races at Donington Park and all 3 races here at Snetterton. As there is Tom Mills heading on to the podium after his 4th podium this season, but the longest wait between podiums that we've had so far. An awfully long time since we saw him on the podium in round 5. It's 10 races. Incredible to think we only have 9 races left in the championship. There's Maserati, a familiar sight on a GB4 podium. And that's something brand new to see. Jack Sherwood taking to the top step of the podium. We're used to seeing him on the podium, but not normally in that position. A fantastic drive from Sherwood, and the Elite Motorsports team will be very, very happy indeed. Of course, said before quite a few times in this broadcast, they're a local team, and this being their home circuit, they're the one they're the hungriest to win at. And finally taking that effort. They go down to just 1 car for this weekend. We'll see what they can muster in a few weeks' time. It's kind of one of those crazy things to think about with the rest of the season. We've got 9 races left, just 3 rounds. We go racing in Silverstone in a month's time. Then there's a wait until September before we go to Brands Hatch, and then a wait until October before we go racing in Donington Park. But we are in the meaty end of this championship, which Max Maserati, the driver there on the left-hand side, leads by 9 points. On 328 points he's on at the moment. Nicholas Taylor behind on 319, losing out a lot of ground. But I was chatting to Nicholas Taylor between the races. He was saying that he was feeling more confident for Silverstone. Now, Maserati, the master champagne sprayer, was really showing them how it was done. Last round, Tom Mills was already jumped off of the podium, didn't see that. And I think now Jack Sherwood is going to try and spray some champagne. And he's doing a better effort than Nicholas Taylor did, obviously, back in Donington Park. Super stuff between the 2 of them, and those overalls definitely need to be washed. Now, it's not actually champagne, don't worry. If you're thinking minors and stuff are drinking, it is definitely non-alcoholic, so don't panic too much. Let's head our way, though, down to John Jackson. He's in the paddock area.
Yeah, I think our cameraman may have got a little bit of a soaking there from Max Maserati and Jack Sherwood. And I'm now here with Eddie Ives, the team principal of Elite Motorsports. And, I mean, it's been a decent weekend for Jack, hasn't it? He's really, chat to his dad, I was just saying to him there, chat to his dad earlier, and he said that something's just clicked with him.
Yeah, no, he's had an absolutely fantastic weekend. He's just been gradually going. We've been working with him for now 2 years. and yeah, he's just soaking it in and getting better and better every time he goes out. So I'm just really pleased for him to see his first win, see him control the race and fastest lap. So yeah, over the moon for him.
He is creeping up the leaderboard as well, and we've seen a lot of things change in terms of the leaderboard with Max Maserati now leaving this weekend as the championship leader. We've called him Mr. Consistency. He's always seems to be there in and around the podium. Is that what Jack needs, or does he need to just get some wins now and potentially mount a sort of late challenge?
I think to say we're going for the title, it would be a bit over-ambitious, but we're out to win every race and score as many points as we can, and we'll see how it tightens up towards the later end of the year.
Absolutely. And a word on GB3, just while we've got you. Obviously, James Headley did pretty well in that race just before.
Yeah, he's had a really tough weekend right from Thursday morning to now, so it was good for him to pick up a podium in that last race, and yeah, to pick up a third.
Excellent. Eddie, we'll chat to you again, I'm sure. We're going to let you go celebrate with the rest of the team. It's been a very busy weekend, but thanks for talking to me, and congratulations to your team and to Jack.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, I'll bring Piers Pryor, our co-commentator, former GB3 driver, in now, and some really exciting racing there. For me, watching Max Maserati chasing someone is really exciting because Max doesn't hold back, and he's quite an aggressive driver and goes for it, but he just couldn't get near the pace of Jack Sherwood there.
Jack Sherwood, fastest lap after fastest lap in that race, as you just mentioned. He's something he's kicked this weekend. We've just seen he's won the final race, and also just has received the Sunoco fastest lap award as well, so clearly the fastest driver this weekend by the end of the weekend. Didn't put it together in qualifying, which meant he wasn't quite there for the first couple of races, but I reckon he'll take this confidence he's taken from the win today. If he can add that into making sure that he knows he can go fast. He doesn't have to push through it, he just has to drive well like he did in the final race, then he can qualify well, and that'll set his weekend up, and then he could maybe not set a last minute. I don't want some champagne, thanks, Max. I'm alright.
It's not even champagne, mate. It's fizzy water.
When you drive.
Is it? No, I'm working. I don't know if you can tell. I'm working. I'm working. Don't let me take that Mr. Consistency title off you, Max. Yes, I don't know where you were.
We're talking about Jack Sherwood.
Yes.
Taking the
he's chasing someone else now.
The confidence from this win. If he uses it in the qualifying and the rest of the season, there's no reason why he can't be up there at the end of the season. As Eddie Ash from Elite said, a bit challenge is a bit.
I'm just very positive with these things. I know
you're always a
positive. Yes, I am. Well, look, we were talking before about how we had 3 female races in the first 3 positions, and it really didn't work out for any of the female drivers, with Megan Jilks as well having to replace the front of her car. And it was Jessica Edgar. I mean, I'm sure you guys saw it. Now, a little bit behind the scenes here. Now, Piers obviously has to talk to me when the cars are getting ready to go. He has to then cross the track here at Snetterton, run around, meet Lewis McGlade to do the commentary, and I think sometimes you miss little things while you're running. They ran out a steering wheel replacement to Jessica Edgar.
I
saw that right at the last minute there, and something clearly not right there at all.
Still didn't seem to fix it. Often they'll do a steering wheel replacement because sometimes the electronics in the steering wheel the electronics in the steering wheel control how the car works, and sometimes if the steering wheel's malfunctioning, then they can change the steering wheel and it often resets everything, and then they can go. It looked like they tried it a couple of times on the dummy grid. We were waiting for about a minute for Jess to go. Unfortunately, never actually got going. I don't know what they changed. We'll have to talk to 4 seconds, see what happened there. But really unfortunate for Jess Edgar, as she would have been looking to hopefully have a good result from pole position, but I didn't get that opportunity.
And as for the Graham Brenton Racing with Laser Tools drivers, Logan Hanna, Chloe Grant, I think you said on commentary, but perhaps it was Lewis, that you think Jack Sherwood is just going to take them straight, and he didn't wait, did he?
I didn't. I thought he would get through eventually. I thought the pace he had was just too strong for those Graham Brunton cars. They're not far off the pace, but the pace that Jack's been showing, especially this morning, I thought eventually he'll get past. He's been doing some great moves as well, not lacking confidence on the brakes and around the outside that he likes to do those moves. But it took him 1 corner to get past both of them. A great start around the outside, almost instantly past Logan Hanna, and then Chloe Grant all the way around the outside of Richards turn 1 and never looked back.
Not at all. We did have a word with Nicholas Taylor. Obviously came into this weekend as the championship leader with Fortec and won that first race, and there was a lot of talk about can you win 3 races this weekend. I think for the first time in any championship that's associated with GB3, with MSV. So since 2016, I was going to say, the second time. It hasn't been done for quite a long time, and I don't know whether the pressure of that got to him or whatever, but it didn't quite work out for him this weekend. I didn't want to talk to us just now, but I mean, you can imagine he's very disappointed coming into this.
Yeah, he's realistically probably been, other than Jack Sherwood, maybe up there as between the two of them, potentially the fastest drivers of the weekend. Jack got the fastest lap of the weekend in that last race, but he would have hoped for more from this weekend. He was second place when he went off in the previous race. It would have then had potentially better tyres for this race, so I'm sure he's very disappointed with that. He's lost his championship lead to Max Maserati in both the previous race and then this race, so not the strongest weekend, despite the pace being there, but it's all experience. His first season in cars.
Yeah.
Max Maserati has missed a consistency and has got the experience, and that's what's allowing him to do that. So I'm sure Nicholas Taylor will get that throughout the rest of the year, and he's still right up there, and he's still got the pace.
Absolutely. Well, look, it's one of those things where we'd love to go and talk to some of the drivers, but we've already checked with Fortec, and unfortunately we can't chat to any of them. We're over here with Hillspeed, and we've already chatted to Max Maserati. Megan Jilks isn't around as well. Graham Brunting racing with Laser Tools. We caught up with them before. I can't see them. So, I mean, I would love to chat to drivers, but, you know, so at the end of a weekend, there's disappointment, there's celebration, and that means that they don't sometimes want to talk to us. But to be honest, I completely understand that, because if I'd won a race, I wouldn't want to talk to me either. So, that's the way we go. We've got some more exciting races coming up in the GB4 and, of course, the GB3 Championship. GB3 next going to Spa in, well, I think 3.5 weeks' time, roughly. The next race in the GB4 Championship is Silverstone again, back there at the last weekend of July. That's going to be very exciting. It was some exceptional racing at Silverstone last time we were there with GB4. I think one of my favourite races was at Silverstone, and it was just wheel to wheel. So hopefully we'll get a slightly bigger grid there, slightly depleted in terms of numbers here on the grid this time. So more excellent racing coming up at Silverstone, I reckon.
Looking for more excellent racing at Spa in the GB3, and then Silverstone for GB3 and GB4. We've seen great racing in both GB3 and GB4 at Silverstone, so more of the same there. And then Spa, long straights, wide circuit, excellent venue, and also getting abroad as well to race in GB3. Everyone's looking forward to it.
Now, what we're trying to do, because we do feel a little bit bad, this is we're pulling the curtain back. We kind of do this towards the end of the weekend. We are trying to arrange something for the GB4 drivers, okay? And I'm not going to give you a full insight into what we're trying to pull here. But, you know, with all the GB3 drivers so excited this weekend to be going over to Belgium, to be racing at Spa, the GB4 drivers are going, well, I wish I was racing at Spa, and, you know, maybe next year they'll get into GB3 and whatever. We're looking at giving them a little bit of a Spa flavour, a bit of a Spa experience, aren't we? So perhaps next time at Silverstone we'll leave it there, but maybe we'll give them a Spa experience. And we must also say there are 2 other rounds coming up after that. We've got obviously Brands Hatch the 10th and the 11th of September, and then we end Donington Park 15th, 16th of October.
Yep.
I mean, it could all come down to that. It could be Jack Sherwood, it could be Max Maserati versus Nicholas Taylor. That's what we want to see. 3 cars that could potentially win 3 drivers. I mean, that would be the ideal, wouldn't it?
Don't count on Jared Boberski as well. He's currently still first place in the championship with 2 podiums and a 4th place this weekend. He's looked really strong. Tom Mills has got some great pace. If he can string stuff together, he might be fighting for lots of race wins. I think, unfortunately, he's a little bit further back in the points, so maybe not mounting a championship challenge, but there's a lot to unpack and a lot of racing to go ahead.
There is. Talking about unpacking things, and this is probably the cheesiest thing I've ever said. We've got to say thank you to Jared Boberski's mum, Julie, listening in South Africa at the moment. She has provided me and Piers, not Lewis McGlade though, but we maybe won't tell him about it. We'll maybe keep that quiet. Some chocolate, some snacks from
South African treats.
So thank you very much for that. It's great to know that everyone's watching Jared racing in South Africa, as well as wherever you're watching in the world. I know we've got a lot of international viewers. That is it for this weekend of racing in the GB4 and the GB3 Championship. You can rewatch any of the races. You can follow all of the action, see all the photos on the social media. Make sure you follow whichever championship you're following, or just both. Follow Piers Pryor. I don't know. Just don't follow Lewis McGlade, because apparently, according to everyone in South Africa, he's not worthy of sweets. Anyway, we'll catch up with you again soon. Spa is the next race, the 3rd weekend in July, where the GB3 cars will be racing in Belgium.